I need to preface this by clarifying some things. A few weeks ago, my brother took his own life. I, his brother, am currently writing this. The following account was written by my deceased brother over the course of a month or so and merged together into something cohesive by me. The beginning part I found on his laptop. Later, he mostly wrote on paper. The only thing I changed was the grammar and some sentences to make them clearer. The order of the writing I deducted through context clues. I also want to add that my brother has not had a history of mental illness in any kind. The horrors my brother unveiled is something everyone needs to know about. I am writing this to warn you. This blessed ignorance you've been living in, it's all a lie. A few weeks back, I was just like you, living life in a carefree way with all the usual worries that can bother someone. I wish I could go back to that mundane life, to that blissful naivety. I would give everything to forget, to unsee. I'm slowly losing my mind. This letter, my only escape. It's the only thing taking my mind off things, giving me some kind of distraction. My story begins approximately 1 month ago. It was the first time I saw into that dreaded empty space. Back then, I thought nothing of it. Just my mind playing tricks on me, I thought, unaware of the ill fate I had just stumbled into. It happened while I was talking to a co-worker. By chance, I noticed something weird behind him at the wall. My eyes darted toward it, and as soon as I fixated on it, it vanished. I wasn't able to remember what I had seen there on the wall. I couldn't even be sure I had seen anything, but something told me otherwise. There was a faint stinging in my eyes and a nauseating feeling in my stomach. Somehow, it felt like I had seen something I shouldn't have, as if I had accidentally opened the doors to hell and caught a glimpse of what lies beyond. But, of course, at the time, I just shrugged it off. But that first time had only been the beginning. A few days afterwards, I saw it again, from the corners of my eyes. A restless patch of something on the sidewalk. I stopped mid-stride and stared at the spot it had been. And again, nothing. This process repeated itself for another few days, and I grew frustrated. Every encounter with that thing left a bad taste in my mouth, and I was still curious. I wanted to see what was hiding from me, the thing that kept eluding my gaze. Soon, I would come to regret that wish. Some say curiosity is one of man's greatest virtues. But I have learned it is one of man's greatest flaws. We do not realize how fragile our perception of reality is. One wrong stone turned, and we will forever suffer because of it. The next day, I finally got a good glimpse of what had been following me. A small corner shop where I often went to buy snacks after work would mark my point of no return. While going through the routine of small talk with the cashier, I noticed the thing again. At this point, I must add, all the following descriptions of what I saw and am seeing now are not capable of truly describing it, for no human eyes are meant to witness these primal shapes of perversity. Above and behind her, clinging to the ceiling, I saw a spot of wriggling, pale chaos. The cashier must have noticed my look, for she looked behind her and saw nothing. The moment her eyes fell on that spot, the thing of horrors vanished, folded itself up into nothingness. It left no trace in its place, just a weak after-image clinging to the insides of my eyes. And a weak pulsing I felt there too. The cashier looked back at me in confusion, but I could not speak. I paid without words and left. After that, the glimpses grew more frequent. I first thought it was stress, or that something was wrong with my eyes. But soon I concluded that I was losing my mind. People started to notice my strange behavior and probably thought I was crazy. I wish I was. The sightings grew even more numerous. The day after, I spotted 3 flickers of that wretched thing. One time, I got a good 3 seconds look of a flat, squirming mess of infinite complexity piercing into my eyes. Of course, it vanished quickly again, like if my eyesight hurt its very being. I puked all over the sidewalk that time, earning weird looks from passerbys. After a tiring week and the insistent pleading of my close friends, I went to the psychologist. I tried explaining what I saw, but found myself at a loss of words. How could one describe these sightings into hell itself? Still, I tried. She attributed it to stress, and her reasoning calmed my mind. I was probably just overreacting. After giving me a prescription of sleeping pills, she reassured me that all I needed was some rest and a week off work. I obliged. I wasn't productive at work anymore anyways. But it did not help. On the contrary, the fewer people around me, the worse it got. When I was alone, that thing became more prevalent. It seemed like other people's eyes could ward it off, and so they lived in ignorance to the horrors that hid outside their vision's limits. Why I was an exception, I could not guess. I could only pray my condition was a temporary one. The torture I lived through was an insidious one. I knew a predator was prowling all around me, but could not act, because I only ever spotted its shadow. I felt that thing lurking at the corners of my eyes, but every time I looked, it was already gone. An irrational fear had planted its seeds in me. I avoided contact with my friends because I was scared I could infect them with this taint of horror. 2 weeks later, my mind was beginning to crumble. There was a constant piercing pulsing behind my eyes. The squirming chaos was beginning to get bolder. It now stayed a few seconds before vanishing. The thing became harder and harder to ignore. I tried my best to distract myself, but on one horrifying evening, I learned that you cannot ignore that which permeates all of existence. I am certain there are things lurking inside that disgusting space of contradiction. Things not meant to be seen by living eyes. They had noticed me too, stalking my every step. This place, it grew bolder. It crept into my view so frequently that I had stopped eating. I couldn't keep anything in my stomach anymore. I was watching TV when I once again noticed that ever-twitching shape at the corner of my vision. I instinctively tried to avoid looking at it, hoping that if I denied its existence, it would simply disappear. To my horror, it grew wider, consuming the fabric of space in its path. Then, it entered my view. I began screaming. Between the usual disgusting churning forms of impossibility, I saw something else. I saw something looking back at me. I felt its eyeless gaze on me, like a wet, hairy lump of flesh pressing against my whole being. I scrambled out of the room, and even as I fled, it watched me from behind, from everywhere outside of reality. That night, I did not sleep. In fact, I did not sleep anymore at all after that. Every moment alone, I felt it watching me, surrounding me, and choking my very soul. At day, I tried to stay around the large crowds. Their eyes were warding cones of vision to me. But at night, there was no one to protect me. All the lights in my house were turned on at all times, even though it was useless. The light does not bother it. After calling my boss once again to tell him I would miss another 2 weeks, I went to buy mirrors. Lots of them. I hung them on walls, put them on the floor, and even on the ceiling. I did not want to leave any niche of my house unseen by my eyes. It was a hopeless endeavor though. There was no way for me to see everything everywhere at once. It did put my mind at ease for some time at least. With nothing else to do, I began documenting my sightings, in hope to discover a pattern. But I didn't learn anything new. Other people could ward it off with their eyesight, like sunshine that drives away the shadows. But when no living thing watched, it reemerged, corrupting reality. Other animals, I concluded, could see glimpses of it sometimes. But it seemed I had surpassed them in their ability. There was no logic behind my sightings. The only thing I was certain of was that they grew more frequent. Why this happened to me out of everyone, I cannot guess. Before this, I might have been the most ordinary person on this earth. I cannot sleep anymore. Every time I close my eyes, there is this slithering at the edges, and if I wait enough, it emerges, engulfing the insides of my eyes. I can feel their gazes on me, their vile breath on my neck. The squirming is constant. It surrounds my vision, lurking in every corner of reality. I think I can hear them too now. Behind the white noise of everything, there lies another layer, one that creeps into my bones, makes me shiver. The sounds cannot be described. They scrape at the insides of my brain, like icy worms drilling into my head. I have tried listening to loud music, but it has not helped. Somehow, it pierces any kind of sound, no matter how loud. Today, after buying more pills to keep me awake, I went to buy an axe and a handgun. My tiredness has settled deep into my bones. I have lost a third of my original weight, and I am beginning to realize I wouldn't be able to hold out any longer. After my purchase, I went straight to my home. First, I locked the doors, then sat in the middle of the living room, or more fittingly, mirror room. I hadn't had the energy to take them down again. While I sat, I told them to come, shouted my defiance, and invited them. The thing that crept around the fringes of reality and the things that lurked inside it. My hands held the wooden handle in a fierce grip, shaking slightly. After a bit of waiting and some more shouting, I somehow felt it behind me. A sensation almost making me puke, piercing into my back. Through the mirrors, I saw it behind me. Without hesitation, I spun around and attacked. All the pain and suffering I had endured flowed into my frenzied hacking. Again and again, the axe hit dug into the place of chaos. Like a festering wound, it burst open, covering me with a hazy gas-like liquid. The screaming in my ears grew to deafening heights, making me drop the axe. The liquid burned, crawled over my skin like a living thing. It felt like the blood of a dead god, tainting my very soul. It seeped into me, flowing into the nooks and crannies of myself. I fell, screaming, my anger forgotten. My vision turned black, and I fell limp. After I woke up, I somehow knew it had followed me into the place of unconsciousness. It was like remembering the echoes of a dream. Nothing tangible, but I now knew that they lurked in dreams, and in the deepness beyond too. With no other choices left, I did what I had to do. I made sure to be quick and careful. I did not want to faint, for I dreaded what would wait for me in the realm of unconsciousness. The kitchen knife only trembled slightly when it first struck it into my left, then right ear. The pain helped me with my sleepiness as the blood flowed down the sides of my head. And in spite of the fathomless pain, I smiled. All sounds were gone. The buzzing of my refrigerator, the chirping of the locusts, and the sound of my laughing. Then, slowly, it returned. The scraping, licking, the plucking at my brain. I screamed in silence. Silence interrupted by the impossible sounds of wrongness. When I close my eyes, even when I blink, I see them. Inside of that oily place they bathe, dressed in the rags of hell. They do not hide themselves from me anymore. They reach out with their bent limbs, tugging at me from the beyond, trying to drag me to them. I feel it clinging to the places I cannot see. It is inside me, wrapping around all the corners of my being. It is around my bones, inside my lungs and my blood. It is behind my eyes. I must look at these places. I cannot let them dwell there. I cannot let them taint my insides. The stinging is unbearable, drowning out the pain of the physical world. The pain of the knife sliding into the soft flesh of my belly. The redness of blood is reflected all around me. I push the knife upwards and open the slit wider so I can gape inside me to drive them off. The mirror in front reflects my worst nightmare. It is there, inside me, and my vision does not deter it anymore. Through the haze on my eyes, I can see it grinning, laughing, like a wolf realizing that the fire cannot hurt it anymore. I am choking on a mix of blood, puke, and things made of chaos. There is only one thing left to do. One slim possibility of salvation. The muzzle of the 9mm feels cold against the wet insides of my mouth. I hope that place will not follow me into death. Or worse, that place is death. The destination that waits for us at the end of the road. If so, you all will not be spared either. I do not know how you can avoid my fate. But maybe awareness will help you. I hope someone will find this and will bring it to you. To everyone. I pull the trigger.